All right, welcome into the first ever episode of There Will Be Banter. It is a clear, cheap ripoff, spinoff of There Will Be Bourbon, and these three will probably berate me to change the title after this. But until then, that's what it is. So my name, Eric. I'm going to bring in our esteemed panel of roundtable guests. We've got Ron, the retired CIA paramilitary spook. We have Nick, the world's most okayest podcast host. And then we have Veronika, the gun-toting liberal who will balance out this shit show. We hope. How's everybody doing?
I'm feeling very safe. I'm feeling very safe tonight. Thank you.
You are in a safe space.
I am. And it's not just from the feeling of security I have from what's growing on my upper lip right now.
God. One day you will match the greatness that lives and breathes on top of Ron's upper lip.
And according to my screen, on top of Nick as well. So it's all good.
You know, in about 2 to 3 weeks' time, that thing on Ron's upper lip is going to become a butterfly and just fly away. So
yeah, or you might want to be careful with all these wildfires making their way towards you. That's flammable, man. You need to keep an eye on that.
Thanks, California.
Heyo, Veronika, how are you out there?
Doing pretty okay.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing to complain about. North Carolina's gorgeous, so.
Give it time. There's hurricanes on the way.
Oh yeah, there's like 2 coming, I think, or whatever, to the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, I hear they're going to merge and become, because why not?
This is a North Carolina respecting panel you've assembled here. I think all 3 of us have a connection to North Carolina.
I've been there myself, yeah. So, well, sometimes the universe just aligns, Nick.
All roads lead to Bragg.
This is
true. The universe. All roads lead to Bragg.
Yeah, next time I'm wearing my Free Pineland shirt. That's it.
There you go.
All right, so for those who are trying to figure out what the hell we're doing here, the idea is to offer some unique insight based on the experience of the 3 here assembled. I'm just here to herd cats. If I have something witty, which I probably won't, but if I do, I'll drop it in there and kind of maybe stir the pot a little bit. But I want to kind of keep it to one thing that kind of happened in the previous week. And if anyone is out there paying attention, we probably understand at this point, there's an election coming up in a few months. And last week, the challenging party held their convention. Now, for those who don't know, and most of you don't, because based on the ratings, it doesn't seem like a lot of people watch this. Did any of you 3 watch this?
Hell no.
Okay, we got a hell no from the Trump 2020 guy.
I watched Biden's speech, and it was really bad.
You thought it was bad?
Okay. Oh, I thought it was horrible.
Are you guys kidding me? I'm disappointed in everybody here. I watched as much as I could find online. It was a laugh a minute. I loved it. I loved every second of it.
Yeah, but Nick, to be fair, you suffer from insomnia. You needed help getting asleep. That's why you watched it.
It wasn't even that. It was just, listen, sometimes you just got to drift off to La La Land, and they took me right there, man. They took me to
If I want to see La La Land, if I want funny, I'll go watch old reruns of SNL from the original good days.
Well, I mean, honestly, yeah. So, I mean, long story short, yes, I watched it. I loved every second of it because holy God, I don't know if we're going to censor language here, but holy gosh. Holy gosh.
Oh, good. Thank God.
Let it rip. Yeah, let it rip. You don't know Veronika that well yet, but you will.
Yeah. I don't know if you're trying to get like advertising, if you want like sponsorships and things like that.
Yeah, because that's worked out well for you at this point. So if you couldn't get them, I damn sure aren't getting them.
I think everybody that listens to Eric's podcast all went to public school, so they all speak all varieties of French. So fuck you, Nick. Come on.
There it is. So basically, it was a fucking shit show. The DNC.
There we go.
I loved every second of it.
Biden, and not to sound, fuck it, whatever. He sounded like an old crazy person who was also like trying to give a speech with his jaw wired shut. Like, have you ever heard somebody like try to speak after they've had some sort of like oral surgery? Like, that's what it reminded me of. He slurred through half the thing. he lost his place. Like, obviously he's reading from a teleprompter. It was just, it was bad. It was uninspiring. It was dark at one point. He like, I wrote a quote down because he's obviously talking about like losing people via like in COVID and like referencing losing his own son. And he goes, I understand how hard it is to have any hope right now. I know that deep black hole that opens up in the middle of your chest and feels like you're being sucked into it. And I was like, okay, it's got really fucked up really quick. Like,
there's an inspiring leader.
Yeah,
I want to vote for him.
Real quick, just talking real quick, Veronika, what you said, like, it sounded like his jaw was wired shut. I don't know if you guys have noticed, he's got a crooked smile. Like, one corner of his mouth is going up, one's going down. Sure tell sign of a stroke. So he might be struggling, like, actually speaking. I'm just throwing that out there.
I wouldn't doubt it. And, like, I'm not trying to, like, I'm obviously being facetious and kind of fucked up. And, right, if he has had a stroke, I'm sorry. Yeah. But, like, the entire time, like, I remember Biden's old speeches and, like, the way that he used to carry himself publicly during the Obama administration. And this isn't that, right? No. Like, at least he could formulate sentences, but it sounds like he's almost slurring now. And, like, there's a bit of a, like, it sounds like a speech impediment. And I don't understand, like why he's the candidate. Like, I don't get, he doesn't seem lucid.
Yeah. I think I said this when I talked with you, and if I didn't, excuse me, but I remember in 2012 when they were running for re-election in the Obama presidency, and they had the VP debates against Paul Ryan, and Joe Biden, like, destroyed Paul Ryan, like, to the point where I felt bad for him, in my opinion, watching it, because Biden was that sharp and that on his game at that night. So that's kind of where I think maybe you're drawing that from, and to see where he's kind of gone and progressed, if that's the word for it, to now. Yeah. And that kind of brings me to, let's back up in the week when Kamala Harris was named the VP. Why was this not the actual choice, and why did they settle on Biden?
I want to get in here, and I want to hear Ron's thoughts on this because I respect his opinion. But Kamala Harris is, honestly, she's in practice, she's a terrible candidate. Like, the direction that the Democratic Party is going, which is like super woke and super progressive, like, even though Kamala Harris has those, she kind of lauds those policies, at the end of the day, she was throwing black men in prison for like personal use marijuana and bragged about it. So in this age of like police and prison reform, Kamala Harris is just a joke of a choice. And that's why she isn't the candidate.
So I disagree, right? Like, I don't think that the Democratic Party necessarily is moving towards like a more progressive like ideology. I think that they're trying to keep up with the younger generations that are starting to move away from the Democratic Party because they want more progressive policies put in place. So they're like playing this catch-up game, and Kamala Harris felt like they were pandering to the, like, I wouldn't say the woke crowd, right? But like the crowd that wants progressive policies and like more women and more Hispanics, more blacks, like that whole fucking ideology, right? Like that utopian future that everybody's trying to go towards or whatever. But I personally just find her completely uninspiring. Like, I don't get it. Like, she's a black woman. Like, that's not a platform.
Or
like, that's not the sole thing that speaks to me.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. His
That's
speech,
fair.
Like was like, she's a woman, a black woman, and she gets immigrants. And I was like, what? Because she lived in California. And there's a lot of Mexicans there. Like, I don't know what you're trying to say to me right now.
Can confirm.
But I don't know if
she's from Jamaica. Come on, she knows the Skittles giraffe.
I know, it's
on TV. There's a commercial for Skittles, and there's a Jamaican dude milking a giraffe, and
it's like the rainbow.
Sorry, I got it.
What is he doing? He's doing.
Never mind. I don't want to know.
Totally taste the rainbow right now.
You're tasting.
You can totally taste Willie.
You're tasting TV static, is what you're really tasting. White Claws aren't that great.
That's true.
First off, they're amazing, and you're wrong.
They're not amazing.
The lemonade trulies are better.
Real quick, Veronika, what you had just said, like, you don't think
Good.
If the party might be trying to pander to that kind of that movement, the young people, things like that. But like, I was watching the stuff going on at the DNC that was not aired on primetime, the stuff that you had to stream to watch. And it was a steady stream of these no-name PAC representatives that were having these roundtable discussions just like this. And the topics of the day was the abolition of all police. This is the DNC, mind you. They had the official DNC border around it, but abolition of all police, abolition of the entire prison system, the destruction of capitalism, and the destruction that is the patriarchal control of the nuclear family. And I'm not saying, and I don't use the term nuclear family as in the dad, mom, the nuclear family is a two-parent household, whether it's two men, two women, man and woman, but the abolition of that family unit. They don't want the family unit. I watched, it had to be a total of 24 or 25 hours of that rhetoric that they didn't even want to show during prime time, because that's a total turnoff to your average Democratic voter. That's ridiculous. But that was the conversation going on during the DNC.
And I struggle with like a lot of that stuff, right? Because it feels like, again, right, it's pandering, and that's probably why it wasn't broadcast, because that's going to speak to a very small group of people. Like, I consider myself fairly liberal and progressive depending on the issues. I think it's issues based, but like those are ridiculous things that are never going to happen. It's like, what law are you going to put in place, or like we can't even get the fucking education system like to come together on what books we're going to fucking give our kids. Like, we're going to destroy the family unit. What does that even?
I'm not worried about that. I am worried about like actual abolition of and I'm not saying that we don't need police reform. Like, I'm just one to step up and say, all right, let's have a discussion here. But seriously, like, abolition of all police in the prison system. Right, they just want to release everybody in prison back onto the streets. It doesn't matter what they did.
See, I don't, and again,
if they do that, I hope they up the ammo production, because my God, ammo's in short supply.
Ron finally drops in with a dynamite.
Sorry.
Ron won't admit it, but he's actually pro this position because
he's looking forward to
it.
it.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the Purge, part 4, I mean, come on, this would be great.
You're not even going to get to have fun and do it. You live in the middle of the black
woods. Nobody's going to go up there.
Well, we got a few reprobates. There's a few meth labs I can go blow up. All right.
Don't blow up on their own. I've watched Yellowstone.
Yeah, me too.
You're not wrong.
No, it's
not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
It's a matter of when. Yeah, the cowboy chemists aren't very good at this.
There's the South Dakota School of Mines. There's Black Hills State University, and there's a few of the Birkenstock crowd that run around, and I mean, we had 3 people in Rapid City the other day doing the protest thing. I go, wow, that's it. Cool. I'll just bring my Swiss Army knife to handle you guys. It's like too easy.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Okay. So I bring it up. It was a thing I started with, but the ratings aren't exactly a lie here. If you go back, the New York Times tracked the last 4 conventions, and I'll be fair up front and say, look, I get it. In 2008 and 12, it was President Obama. That is not exactly who's on the ticket today, but the ratings are down 17%. 50% overall off of traditional networks. It's the lowest rated in the last 16 years, 12 years. So 12 years.
Veronika hit the nail on the head. I mean, listen, we can all talk about Obama's legacy and our personal views on him. And despite the disaster that definitely 2, maybe 3 on this panel believe his policies and presidency and the lasting ramifications of it, taking all that out of consideration, just taking a look at Obama the candidate, Obama the man. He was charismatic. He was charming.
Oh yeah.
He was energetic. He was young. He was different. Like, honestly,
it's the opposite of today.
Exactly. Everything. Seriously, everything that got Trump into office was like Trump was the anti-candidate. Obama was the anti-candidate of the Democratic Party in 2008, 2012. He was, people were excited for him.
Yeah.
Then you got Biden, who is, he's out there telling crazy stories like the drunk uncle at a birthday party. He's off asking reporters if they had to test for cocaine use before they got a
Yeah,
job.
that is true.
Like,
That was pretty bad.
Like the guy was, like, he's the anti-Obama. He's a 47-year veteran. Let's use that, a veteran of DC. And the guy has been running for president almost nonstop since.
This is his third time. He finally got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like Bob Dole without the charisma
or the record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
so yeah, if you're gonna compare the ratings to 2008, 2012 when people were excited.
Even 2016 when Hillary was there. I mean, so he really is a transitional candidate. Much like the way Bob Dole was and John McCain were transitional candidates, while the Republican Party was transmorgifying to what it's still working towards today, because there's still, a lot of the Jeff Flake type quote unquote Republicans. And I'm not going to do the Brinky air quote. Oh, damn it. I did it.
You just
air
did
quotes.
It. Too late.
Yeah, I know. I can't help myself. So, there's a lot of those guys that are the status quo, go along, get along. And, please, sir, may I have another as they get their asses spanked. So,
and it's a good transition, because I mean, we could hammer on the DNC thing. There's some stuff that I wanted to kind of, well, actually, let me do this before we move into what's going on this week. So I did think it was kind of curious. And Nick, you said you watched way more than all of us did, but I did notice this part. What was missing? There was no mention of the recent peace deal with the UAE and Israel, and there was no mention of the impeachment that the Democrats swore was going to finally bring down the Trump White House. Like, there's no mention of it. This was like the biggest thing that went on in their party when it was announced. No mention of it whatsoever in the actual convention.
No, the new go-to with the Democratic Party is, if it didn't pan out, it didn't happen. That's the new thing. The impeachment.
I'm gonna say that's both sides. That's
definitely both sides.
That's just politics, right?
Tomorrow's Tuesday, so then we're gonna reintroduce narrative 6, which will be the Ukraine collusion thing, and then next week we'll reintroduce something about Trump getting golden showers in Moscow or something. We're gonna constantly regurgitate the same 6 things. I mean,
what, Ron? I want to go on record right now, and you guys have heard it here first.
Oh, geez.
Okay, it's on record now. It's being recorded.
It's on record.
With everything that's going on in Belarus,
I'm
saying before November, something is going to be connected. Trump, Belarus, GRU, something like that is going to happen. I'm calling it right now.
Okay.
Veronika,
I think 99.9% of Americans wouldn't even know a Belarus if one jumped up and bit them.
Was it Belarus? Isn't that where like Mirko Krokop, the UFC fighter, was? No, he was from Croatia. Never mind. Yeah, I was going to say.
All I know is that
Belarus.
It's really cold in Minsk during the wintertime. But hey, what do I know?
I will take.
Never been anywhere. Haven't done anything.
Yeah, I was going to say at some point you probably were never in Belarus, but whatever.
No,
not officially.
All right, so let's transition. All right, because this is what we'll end up probably talking most about next week if we survive to do it another week.
Oh God.
I mean, hey, I'm dealing with fire. I can't even see the mountains anymore at this point. Ron's going to be overrun by the protesters in the Black Hills. You're in North Carolina. 2 hurricanes are en route.
Yeah,
Nick is in somewhere in the middle of the country. I don't know. He's drinking White Claw. Anything can happen.
I feel very safe right now.
Nick is the chairman and president emeritus of the Drew Carey I Love Cleveland fan club. I mean, come on now.
Cleveland rocks. Yeah. Poor guy. He's a fucking Cleveland fan. Hey, all right. So look, the Republican National Convention kicks off this week, and there's 2 things I noticed. Yeah, today. The most important one is not who's speaking today. I just want to note, in your guys' opinion, for those that can speak on it, I'm not going to, but do you guys actually feel that President Trump can do what he has all right, let me phrase this properly.
Really?
Do you feel he can actually appeal outside of the base? Because the base isn't enough to win. Veronika says no. Absolutely not.
Fuck no.
Fuck no. Okay.
It's a fuck no for me.
It's a fuck no for me.
It's going to be a fuck yes from me.
Really?
Yeah, and I'll tell you exactly why. It's the same song and dance as it was in 2016. You are literally shamed for being a Trump supporter nowadays. Literally, it's even worse now than it was in 2016. Because now the assumption is you're just a racist, you're just a bigot, you're just a sexist, you're just for cops killing black people, you're just for all the terrible things that are going on in this country. You're just assumed to be pro that. So nobody actually wants to go out and say, besides Ron, who's wearing a
Who's wearing the hat.
I was gonna say, I was
But-
like, this is not the
I'm just trying to stir the
but-
pot.
here.
Ron. Veronika.
Ron's
Ron is
reached that point
probably
in
one
life
of the
where he
most
doesn't care
dangerous
anymore.
people in America. Honestly,
true.
he probably is.
I'm a lover,
be
not a
fine.
fighter, dude. Come on.
He'll be fine. But for the majority of people, they don't want to be associated with that.
I live in the South. I live in the South. My vibe is very different down here. So I get the Trump flags, and like people are still like, "You're not gonna."
It doesn't exist here. You have pockets. You have the super white, affluent, liberal pockets of Shaker Heights and Cleveland Heights here, right? And then on my drive to DC this past week, and I was going through Central PA, and then you had the Trump flags, but you have nothing in between. Like you're not just seeing like outside the two kind of stereotypes that are having the Trump signs and the flags and the Biden signs.
Right.
Did you actually see some?
What's that?
Did you actually see a Biden sign?
They're everywhere.
I haven't seen any.
dude.
I haven't seen
Really?
any out here.
It's Cleveland Heights and Shaker Heights. It's
Yeah. I haven't. To be fair, I haven't seen any signs from anyone, and I'm in Napa at the moment. But in the Bay Area period, I haven't seen any sign. The only thing I'm seeing is local stuff. I'm not seeing national at all.
Nick, I'm taking you with me on my next Yeti expedition. So, man, I mean, if you're that lucky, damn, we're gonna find the Yeti.
Full of
Hell
White
yeah.
Claws.
Hey, but
Yeah,
I'd like
I'll
to
bring the
address that.
claw.
I think yes, he will. His base is expanding, whether we acknowledge it or not, because I don't believe any one of the polls, and I think we'll see a lot of people, because the Democrats keep looking. Oh, look, there's my big toe. Let me shoot it again. Oh, I'm not going to criticize these riots or these things. I'm going to ready, fire, aim on judgment on what's going on, because even this thing in what is it, Kenosha?
Yeah, Wisconsin.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at the angle of the video, you really can see. And you don't know the background. Have these cops have an encounter with this guy before? Because there's photos of this young man who is not dead. He's, at least at last report, he's in critical condition. But, he's posing with weapons and, gang signs and everything like that. And so, and the way he was walking, the attitude, his body language, walking around the front of the vehicle, opening the door and getting in. I mean, he was not being, stuff like that it upsets middle America. And I say middle America, I'm not talking geographic, I'm talking about all those people, all those blue collar workers in Pennsylvania, Nick, and Ohio and elsewhere that used to be the lifeblood of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And they're all going, what the fuck is going on in this country, and why are they busting? Okay, so I got it. The police reform, I'd like to call it, let's get better police training, and let's get better police selection of individuals and psychological screening, because there's a lot of police guys, especially in local police forces, that, oh, I got a badge, I got a gun, I now have a dick extension, I'm all that in a bag of chips.
Right.
So, but it's, so I think Trump can do it. I mean, the convention, the way the agenda's laid out and been announced, it's a positive thing. It's a celebration of America, law and order. I mean, he's hitting on the themes, law and order. I mean, the Democrats have given him a great agenda item of law and order. I mean,
well,
That's such a vague thing to say, though.
Right.
And,
yeah,
like,
but
Veronika,
it resonates
before-
with people, because everybody else goes, I live in the Black Hills of South Dakota, so my law and order is different than the stuff that you see in Vietnam, and the different than Nick sees in sorry, I
what it
remember it is, and and Nick, when he goes to the Drew Curry fan club meetings, so it's law and order. Yes, it's vague, but it's okay, because it means everybody goes. All in all, it's a positive message, because everybody wants Nobody likes violent change. Well, I mean, at least none
Except
of
the
the four
history
of us.
of how our nation was born.
Stop. That was violent. That was
Man,
peaceful protest.
Veronica's sounding a little boogalooey right now.
Hey, look, she's a gun-toting liberal.
I don't own any Hawaiian shirts. I'm about 2 steps behind.
Oh,
But
I'm wearing one next week. Don't worry.
You
But
bet-
hold on.
you know
Before
what? I say we
Veronica
all wear
jumps
Hawaiian
in,
shirts next week.
before Veronica jumps in, so kind of touching on what Ron said, he's right. And I still don't know how, I don't think anyone made a case for how he's going to reach outside of his base. I feel like everything you guys just laid out is appealing.
He's going to be a calming influence, and that's what this country wants.
But he hasn't been for the last 4
Yeah.
years.
But all he has to do
hang
is remind us that, hey, when I took office, where was your 401k retirement? Where was it before the Chinese virus hit? And
Yeah.
let's remember, Veronica. Let's remember, right before all this crap happened, they had signed phase 1 of a trade deal with China,
that's true.
and China was not happy because Trump had them over a barrelhead, and they were hurting. And then all of a sudden, this impeachment bullshit happened, and this COVID-19, and if we flatten the curve anymore, it's going to be below Death Valley. I mean, it's that fucking flat. It's that fucking low. I
love when
now
Ron
we
starts
have to
dropping
wait.
the F-bombs.
And now we have to wait for. Now
this
we
is
have
going into QAnon territory. This is what this
No. I mean, I don't believe in coincidences. 38 years in the community. I don't believe in coincidences. They signed the fucking trade deal, and then all of a sudden this virus magically appears, and I don't know if it was created or whatever, but it certainly showed up, and it wasn't like China released a public statement like, "Oh shit, we got to get together and let's work this out." It was like, gosh, a virus? Gee, we didn't know. Why? Is Italy suffering, or is Europe suffering? Where all the Chinese guest workers are in Milan and shit like that? Yeah, okay, give me a break. I mean, because the Chinese economy was sucking swamp water up until then. And what they wanted to do, in my opinion, yeah, I know, QAnon territory, is they wanted to level the fucking playing field. If we're going down, we're taking everybody down with us. And now they start saber rattling against Taiwan. They've got a bunch of new amphibious warships out there cruising around going, oh yeah, we can land troops anywhere we want. And
it's the same old.
I'm sorry,
out of China, and Ron's right. He is, and I just want to say, Veronica, the QAnon crowd would absolutely hate Ron for his background. They think he is the enemy.
No, they don't. They legitimize this stuff, and then they're like, this guy in the
No.
CIA did this crazy shit. And then
Here's the thing.
more corroborating.
China has
something.
always been the technological underdog in terms of military, foreign policy, economic, in terms of economic realms and things like that. So they had to get scrappy. They had to get scrappy in every single thing that they did. And I'm not going to say, do I think that China purposely released this virus? No. I don't think they released it. I think they just allowed it to blossom because it would just totally ruin their standing in the world. And they saw it as an opportunity. They are opportunistic. Korean War, in terms of how are they going to totally change the tide of what's going on. Right before this, Ron's absolutely right. The trade agreement was totally renegotiated. Ron just left. He had enough of it.
He's done.
We'll see, Ron.
Done.
That's fine. We got a minute left anyway, so we don't.
Anyways, real quick, Ron's absolutely right. In terms of the current RNC, yes,
Ron's back.
It's definitely a feeling of here's America, here's all the things that are good. And the DNC, they literally changed the words to the national anthem because that somehow makes them feel better because this country is a shithole, according to them. So in terms of what Ron was saying, yes, DNC was very much doom and gloom. It was very depressing to watch. It was like, holy fuck, if you were watching this, you'd think we were like fucking interning like fucking millions of Americans for their, beliefs or whatever. I think that the tone of the RNC, they've already paraded out hostage rescue victims and survivors of terrible things that the current administration has authorized to save them. I think there's going to be a lot of flag waving. I think there's going to be a lot of rah, rah, America, rah. I think it's just going to be a totally different feeling. Maybe that is just because it's the incumbent party versus the challenging party.
Mm-hmm.
But even the Democrats have never had that sort of a positive patriotic tune. I remember when Obama accepted the nomination in, what was it, Denver?
2008.
And he went to that stage,
the Acropolis,
with the faux pillars and everything like that. I'm going, oh Jesus, Zeus has come down from Mount Olympus, hot diggity dog.
So
it was like,
it was a good match. All right, hold on.
Okay.
I get it. We could. I know it. I already know it. We could talk until fucking midnight, but we're not. All right.
We're not.
Final word, Veronika, go ahead for it, and then we'll wrap it up and we'll pick back up next week. But Veronika, go for it.
So without diving into absolutely everything, one, QAnon territory for sure. Two, I do think that China completely mishandled the virus. I don't think that there was like a global or a conspiracy to like infect the world. I do think that it got out of hand, and I think it was mismanaged and negligent. I think they should be held responsible. What forum or what format that takes is a whole other thing, right? I also don't believe that correlation equals causation. I've been in the intel community for the last 11 years, and I've never, sometimes shit doesn't always add up, even if we wanted to, right? We know that. And that's okay. I think we see what's happening with my concern with both sides of the party, right? Because I consider myself an independent. I'm left leaning in ideology, but I align with either party. They're both pandering, and that's what they're both saying, a lot of really big overarching themes, but nobody's actually saying anything if you dig far enough. And that's what bothers me about both Biden and Trump. Neither one of them are saying anything, like
that. Welcome to campaign 101. It's
right.
I've seen this every year. It was politically aware since '68. I know that was when Eric was still going from left to right testicle, but that's okay.
I wasn't even a thought.
Yeah, I wasn't I didn't come for a while after 68, Ron.
Right.
Sorry.
But this aligning the base and like pulling in new, I don't think that Trump is doing that, but I also don't think that Biden is doing that. And as somebody who, has to decide who to vote for in November without any sort of party alignment, I don't feel good about voting for anybody.
Joe
and
Stein,
I think that's
2020.
Yeah. Harambe,
I think there's going to be a lot of people voting for her.
Coney 2020.
Yeah. Well, that's where we're going to leave it. And before I get out of here, I wasn't going to do it, but I am, because we already know someone's thinking the election is going to be stolen. So I drank larceny barrel proof in honor of that. But anyway, if you don't know who to vote for in November, write in Ron Moeller. And we'll see you next week on There Will Be Banter.